This is Bless Radio.
It's
It's Tuesday evening, just after 6 p.m. UK time. This is the spiritual discussion program.
Hey, Saad, do me a favor, Saad.
Yeah.
Can you just speak normal, faster, like
Faster. Okay.
yeah, just be
all right.
yourself, man. Yeah, you took it to
I'm
grown up.
Saad in Southeast London.
Thank you.
And it's dark now, and it's been, I would say, mild. And with me, as usual, is Gregory. Gregory, how are you, and how is the weather where you are?
One is fine, but it's getting very cold.
Hey, Gregory, turn up
Okay.
your mic. I can't hear you, Gregory. Gregory, can you turn your mic up? You're very, very low.
Okay, Gregory, just put up your volume. So, listeners, as I said, this is a spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. And we have a new topic every week for discussion. The topic tonight is adapting naturally in these challenging times. Adapting naturally in these challenging times. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, I just want to double check you're there.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Listeners, I want to start with what is the Grail message? The Grail message in the light of truth by Abdushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail message, Abdushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace, if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic we are discussing tonight is adapting naturally in these challenging times. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments. The number to contact us on our UK number, it is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, as you know, I like to look in the dictionary for the meaning of the words in the title or the topic for our show. And just to repeat the topic tonight, it is adapting naturally in these challenging times. So the first word is adapting, or adapt, you can say. And I looked that up in the dictionary, and it says make something suitable for a new use or purpose. And they give another word, modify. So, Gregory, what do you say about this definition for adapt?
It's quite, well, thanks for this particular question. But one should ask oneself, is that an intuitive picture of adaptation or to adapt? And the straight answer is rather far away from it.
Right. Okay. So what can you say, what would be more intuitive picture then here for this word, adapt?
To adapt is to adjust to something.
Right. Okay. So, okay, adjust. So, yeah, that sounds straightforward. So, yes, we can take that on. And I'll just continue with the next word, which is naturally. And naturally, it says in dictionary, without special intervention, in a natural manner. Or another definition they gave for this naturally, as may be expected. Of course, it has to be used in an example. So let me just repeat that, Gregory. The meaning of the word naturally, without special intervention, in a natural manner, or as it may be expected. So is that a good definition there?
Again, these, in quote, definitions seem to be far off the mark. What is stressed in discussions like this are the intuitions behind the words rather than the words themselves, and which may not give the right perspective of what lies behind it, but only a dictionary limited definition.
Right. Okay. So again, would you be able to give us a more intuitive or relevant definition for naturally?
Well, when that expression naturally is used, it only conveys that it conveys the laws of creation or the laws of nature. So adapting naturally may be taken as adjusting to the laws of nature.
Right. Okay, that's good. That's good. We can make a picture of that. And so just to continue with the rest of the title there, it says in adjusting naturally in these challenging times. So the next key word for me was challenging, or challenge. And then I looked at also in the dictionary, and there it says a call to someone to participate in a competitive situation. Well, that is one definition. Or to fight to decide who is superior. So that's a different meaning that what I would say is what is our discussion is meant to be about. So let's, Gregory, let me ask you really, how should we define challenging, the word challenging?
Basically, as one has been mentioned in the past, that which is challenging calls for a response of one's talents, of one's ability to deal with the particular challenge. So that which is challenging only prompts the individual to bring into an activity their innate talents, their innate capabilities.
Capabilities and talents. Okay, thank you for that. So, okay. Now, we're talking about adapting naturally in these challenging times. So, of today we are talking about. And there's lots of things happening. We hear in the news all the time. I might go straight there, Gregory, because we know there's a COP27 conference going on in Egypt, which is to deal, the world leaders or countries of the world are coming together to come to resolutions or making resolutions and policies and even hopefully implementing plans. They're coming to agreement basically about ways to deal with the environmental impact of climate change, which is devastating a lot of countries, well, every country actually, but some more than others. So the first thing we think about there, Gregory, is adapting to our environment. And in this case, the impact of this environment is a self-inflicted through our industrialization over many, let's say, 100 years or so. Well, even if we can say in our current times, the technology is advancing so fast, things are advancing so fast, we're producing a lot of pollution and a lot of waste. And so my question on that, Gregory, is for the people to come together, like these country leaders coming together and coming to some sort of agreement together, is that really a way to adapt to the, let's say, our situation in regards to the climate change? That's what they're coming together for. Is that a way? It's really a proper, let's say, effective way. Let me call it an effective way.
Well, when people come together for a common goal, then that in itself is good, that they have come together for a common goal. And that goal, like has been mentioned, is to adjust, albeit intuitively, to adjust to the laws of creation or the laws of nature, such that that which, in quotes, is challenging them they are able to contribute or put their skills and talents together to solve a particular problem. That means to find a solution to the challenge which is right before them. So that is a step in the right direction.
Thank you for that, Gregory. And let's say when people are coming together, let's say they have their own interests and their own sort of situation where they're, on which basis they're actually making the decisions, what they can do, what they cannot do. And so I'm talking in terms of resources. So we have the richer countries and we have the poor countries. And one of the things that is become quite clear that although, let's say, the pollution or climate change effects may be more due to the richer countries' production that they have been doing over 100 years or whatever, but the impact it doesn't seem to hit them as hard, or much worse impact is in terms of let's say flooding or other disasters, let's call them natural disasters, seem to have more impact in the poorer countries who are not producing in proportion to the West, let's say these richer countries. So the effect seems to be disproportionate, and so the countries, when they come together, there's a question of should I'm trying to think of how to put this question. So the impact, Gregory, is let's say the pollution is greater from the richer countries than the poorer countries, but the poorer countries don't have the resources to deal with the massive impact that they suffer compared to the richer countries. So my question on that is, should the richer countries contribute more than what because otherwise each country would just look after themselves. So should they be helping the other countries more, let me say that way, than what they consider to be, their own resources?
There are so many assumptions in the statements that you have put out. And you mentioned the richer countries, poorer countries. The concept of richer countries, in the sense that they have, in quotes, the resources. Having the resources does not guarantee that these resources will provide a viable solution globally. And you will find that there are many who, in quotes, do not have as much resources, like you would like to put it, who, through their simple way of thinking, can provide resources or can provide advice. Even good advice is a resource which can help to deal with these problems. A very simple example was the Katrina problem some 10 or something years ago, in which that happened in the US. And there were all sorts of solutions which were put forward. However, the Dutch advice or the Dutch solution was discussed but was not taken into consideration as such. When human spirits spend too much time or too much of their time considering how to dominate others, not how to make provision for themselves and others, then problems like this arise. There have been cases where those who claim to have the resources, because they have access to destructive weapons, like nuclear weapons, are unable to deal with these particular problems. As they, in the way they care to put up structures, have they considered that they should have structures which are durable? Have they considered that in the way they put up their houses, that the system, when we have extreme weather, that water can easily flow back to the ocean, like the Dutch people have done, then some of these problems could have been well managed. So resources is a part of it, but the thinking, the way they care to think is another part. There are some who do not have as much resources, but they have destructive materials, and they have spent so much resource in building up these destructive materials. Yet, the people who look up to them, they are unable to help. So you ask yourself the question, who loses and who gains? A different way of thinking must be considered in this. Only in that way will solutions be found, not the way they have been approaching these matters.
Thank you for that, Gregory. You know, one of the, let's say, inventions or materials that we have produced as human beings is plastic, and which is so widespread, you know, in everywhere, in everything, in packaging, in, well, basically every part of life. And yet we know, Gregory, this plastic is, yes, it's very helpful and useful. At the same time, it's very hard to dispose of. It doesn't decompose easily, and you know, it is spread as waste in the oceans, everywhere, really. And now, let's say, you could say almost at a very late stage, people are saying, okay, let's replace this plastic with something else. You know, let's say, I know these are a little bit more small examples, but let's say we have been using, okay, I will say plastic straws. This is just one example I'm giving, really. And now they're saying, oh, let's start using paper straws, so which are much easily degradable, and you know, they don't last for millions of years like the plastic does, which doesn't decompose. So what the question I want to ask, Gregory, you know, you just mentioned about the way of thinking. There seems to be a problem with, you know, when people are producing a product, they're just looking for the benefit of the, let's say, maybe on the short-term benefit, and not really looking at the long-term effect of having a product. And then, you know, especially with regards to waste and recycling, and then, you know, although it's cheap and all that, effective, but when we look at it, when the problem becomes so big, as I said, for decomposing and wastage, it's like we think, oh, that's not a good idea anymore. So my question, Gregory, is, we are talking about adapting naturally. At the moment we said in these challenging times, but almost, Gregory, we bring these troubles to ourselves. Is there a way, Gregory, we can start adapting and thinking that when we produce something, it should be something that will be good benefit for the long term rather than just for the short term?
course, there are ways. First, the ways must come through their reflections, through their thinking, their thoughts, to ensure that that which we degrade very quickly is what is used. The problem has always been that humanity, or those, they're not earnest enough in these matters, or they don't take it seriously enough. Only a few years ago, maybe not even a few years, a few months, when they had the problem with the COVID, many things had to change almost immediately. Before, people will always go to work, all right, and they could have been working remotely. But no, that didn't happen. People had to go to work. When the COVID happened, they had to find ways out to adjust themselves. That's adjusting, which is adaptation. That is one way. Another look must be considered when it comes to, like you mentioned, plastic. If along the line it was said that plastic, the challenge with plastic is so great that many are likely to pass on within a very short time, then the whole inhabitants of the world would have acted very quickly. It is because they lack that conviction that it will do them any long-term harm, and that's why there is no quick response to it. It is not only so-called rich countries, it's almost in every country. Many a time, you find that these things are not taken seriously. However, when it comes to defense, when it comes to producing even the so-called destructive weapons, the atomic weapons, the biological weapons to use on their fellow human spirit, they are prepared to spend as much resources. So one can easily conclude that there is lack of earnestness in finding solutions to these challenges.
Thank you for that, Greg. I want to go into that a bit more. But before I do that, I just want to tell listeners, you're listening to Blessed Radio. It's a Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdrushing. If you are interested in knowing more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is adapting naturally in these challenging times. Adapting naturally in these challenging times. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments. You can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And you're listening to us on Blessed Radio, as I said, and you can listen to us on this website, which is blessedradio1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1, space live stream. That's for the live show. You can also listen to the recording of this show the next day, again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1, space, Grail, message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is adapting naturally in these challenging times. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno. That is ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, we mentioned already that living naturally, we are talking about, adapting naturally in these challenging times is about adjusting to the laws of nature. And obviously, let's say the way we've been living so far, it's about, you could say, economic or material benefits that people are basing their, you could say, their life on. And we are talking here adjusting, it should be adjusting to the laws of nature. And we know science is involved in these inventions, mostly that we invent, and science does study nature as well. In fact, many products, try to learn from nature to develop them. So my question there really is, Gregory, how can man actually work with the laws of nature in developing their products? Because nature produces its own things, and man sort of, you could say, combines the products of nature to make his own inventions. So can man produce like the nature does?
When one observes the way nature carries out its activities, in which what it produces.
Apologies, please carry on.
Hello, your call cannot be taken at the moment, so please leave your message after.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
When one observes nature, the way it carries out its activities, in which that which is produced can be reduced to its individual makeup, like as you have in plants. You do not have plants that just last forever. They grow, they have a season, they fall, and they disintegrate, and then they can be brought back. That is a key activity in nature. If, however, the products that man has follows a similar nature, then you will not have plastics which are likely to not to degrade for a long time and be there forever. So that is an example that man can learn from nature. Nature will not produce things which will just last like that, and one cannot degrade it. That means the lifetime tends to be thousands of years. But one key thing that many haven't taken into consideration is that nature on its own does not go about producing things anyhow. One must observe human personalities the way they care to think. The way many a person cares to think is basically only for themselves. The one for all and all for one is scarcely considered. Why? Because it cannot see or it cannot yet comprehend that there is only one goal here on earth. That is to preserve the earth. And what happens in one part of the earth has a reciprocal activity on another part, and that the earth is one whole. It is that narrow thinking that has produced the caricatures that have been found in nature. So the way of thinking, the way of doing their inventions must be considered very carefully, such that subsequent invention will be such that it is beneficial to all rather than beneficial to only a few group of people.
Thank you for that, Gregory. Another point that come into my mind, the human population has, you could say, multiplied in last 100 years or so. Really, okay, we have 8 billion, 7 to 8 billion now, and although I don't have the figures in front of me right now, but let's say it was maybe only, let's say 100 years ago, maybe it was about maybe 2 billion or even less than 2 billion. So it really is multiplied, and then of course that means the consumption for human beings and the resources they need also has multiplied what they need. And I'm wondering, Gregory, even if we invented, let's say, plastic or whatever we've invented up to now, but if it was because of the, let's say, multiplication of our population and therefore the products that we produce also multiplying, that is like flooded, our way. Basically, there's too much. How can I put it? There's too much material that we have put out there, which, let's say, if it was a much smaller population, let's say we were still around maybe just 2 billion, then there's this, the problems wouldn't be so severe as what we are experiencing nowadays. So just wanted to ask on that factor, is that another issue that where we are not adjusting to the laws of nature somehow?
One must first ask oneself, what happens to the amounts of food and resources wasted or being taken back? That's food which many a supermarket destroys instead of making it available to others. These things must be taken into consideration. What happens to the education that is supposed to be granted to each individual? As is very well known, the more educated many a person is, then with the right education, the more restraints that person is likely to be. Once that education is not available, or many a person lacks the knowledge, then the tendency is to exaggerate in whatever they are doing, be it through population or whatever. Therefore, it has to be one of the holistic solutions rather than partial. The provision of quality education. By education, one is referring to the education not only of the intellect, but education of the spirit. Only the education of the spirit will guarantee that the inner person knows what its responsibilities are. And then, taking it from that point, the spirit that is educated through the right knowledge about the laws of creation will then produce policies which will ensure there is consistency and there is minimal waste. That has really not been considered. Therefore, one must stress on the right education and also to avoid waste. It is not right to turn around to people and say, oh, you are having too many children. You are having too many children when you yourself did not make the necessary, didn't take the necessary steps to assist many who are still in the doldrums. So one has to look at things from a holistic point of view rather than blaming one person or the other. The problem is not with the population. The problem has to do the management of the resources which are available, the management of the population, how best to ensure that there is one for all and all for one. In that case, wastages will be minimized.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for this picture and answer you've just given. You pointed out a very key thing there is, you could call it spiritual education is lacking. And now we all know, you could say the intellectual education, we know we go to school and university for that. But this spiritual education, I don't think anybody is taught that at all, or at least I'm not aware of it, how it is taught. Just to be clear, Gregory, when we talk about spiritual education, is that the religious education? You mean?
One is not referring to religious education. One is discussing here nascent wisdom, such as what we are engaged in this type of discussion. Wisdom that has arisen from deep within the individual. Wisdom that has arisen from one's intuition through the investigation carried out by one's intuitive perception. That nascent wisdom is what is referred to here. That nascent wisdom, which is closely linked to the laws of nature, to the laws of creation, that nascent wisdom which talks about the virtues which the human personality is to cultivate. Only along such do we have holistic solution rather than partial solutions which leads to exaggerations which one has referred to as caricatures.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. Just to understand that further about this nascent wisdom and education, is it individual? Each person has to go through their own life experiences, or can it be taught?
Experience, many would say, is the best teacher. So that means each personality must strive to to open themselves to their own personal intuitions. That is intrinsic, whereas that which you yourself is mentioning is only knowledge acquired intellectually. Knowledge acquired intellectually is limited to the narrow environment where that knowledge was accumulated. Whereas what is referred to is the wisdom which one's intuition has come to know, which wisdom is integrated or is closely tied to the laws of nature, which laws of nature have always been there. It is not as difficult or as challenging as many consider, but because they are so used to intellectual knowledge, they consider they must either go to a university or a technical place to be able to get these things through. Wisdom can also come from the arts. Many a time, you listen to a piece of music. Many of those who play this so-called popular music did not go to university to have a PhD on how to play simple guitar. Ask yourself, where did that intrinsic wisdom come from? The same thing for one who knows how to sing. The same thing happens to one who knows how to compose music in their local environment. These communities wish to live in peace with their neighbors. Just as they wish to live in peace, so also are their neighbors. This does not require any rocket science to realize that. There are others who are very good in literature in the arts. There are others who also know how to do painting. These things were not studied in the universities as such, but were intrinsic. There are others who have so many varied talents. These are the things that must be looked into.
Thank you for that, Gregory. Actually, yesterday I was watching a TV program about the Egyptians, the pharaohs and of course the pyramids, and they were around thousands of years ago, and obviously there was no science at that time, and yet they built the pyramid, as we know, and even the archaeologists researching, they were finding even that, let's say, people living before even the pharaohs, if I think they said they went back as far as 4,500 years, so long time, so even people before the pharaohs were living, let's say, mostly the pharaohs were living around the Nile. I mean, what happened, just to give a bit of background, there was this archaeologist or researcher who was using satellite images or mapping of the Egypt and finding things which archaeologists on the ground would not be able to see because they saw, let's say, settlements which, like, you could see from the longer distance and you can see from close up this is a foundation and so on. So they were taken aback that, let's say, a city they thought was, let's say, just a couple of miles across, it was much bigger than actually that when you looked into the satellite image. And then they went outside of the Nile, beyond into the deserts, and they found some other civilizations also. So Gregory, long ago, it seems we human beings things that we even are marveling at even today, that we can't even think how they did it. How did these people build? They didn't have cranes, they didn't have any such technology, and yet they were able to, build things that, which is quite amazing. So is that the type of thing you're thinking of, Gregory, when you're talking about, because obviously you said they didn't have university or so on in those days.
One is not really referring to those days, although a reference to it could be helpful. What is referred to here are the holistic ways. One of that being the use of one's intuitive perception. That intuitive perception is able to act as a rudder in the reception of impressions and in also sending information back to the spirit. Before one proceeds even along that direction, one must consider that ever before man incarnated on earth, there were the elements. And subsequently, the vegetation before the animals. All were there. How did they come about? Were these planets built? Not laws that put these planets in place? There are other things we are unable to perceive as such because
So sorry, Gregory. There's something. The sound from your. Sorry, Greg. I don't know if you can hear me. The voice from you, it's going in and out. So it's sort of not. We're not hearing every word. So I would say just. Yes, and just a little bit louder if you can speak as well, because somehow I'm not hearing you as loud as I would like. So yeah, but carry on. It's actually it's got worse now. I could just about hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me at all?
Now I can hear you. Now I can hear you. Yes. Okay.
Here is that before man became aware the intellectual ability, there are structures in gross matter. These structures in gross matter must have been put in place with those who are responsible for these structures. Those who are responsible are the beings of nature. Therefore, a good or close connections to these beings of nature, which are responsible for fire, responsible for the vegetation, responsible for the wind. A close connection with them that will have revealed so much about the workings of these beings, and they would adjust in line with the workings of these beings, that the laws of nature are followed. That is one way of looking at it. These things can also be reached through one's.
Somehow, Gregory, we're losing you there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you to rejoin the Skype so that it can have a new line connected. So what I'll just do, 1 second. Okay. So just apologize, listeners, just for one moment. We're just going to, I'm going to bring back Gregory 1 second to the call. Okay, good. Gregory, you're back?
Can you hear me?
Yes. I'm not sure it's working any better, but I hope there will be some difference. So, yeah, it's still, your voice is going in and out, at least from my side. That's how I'm finding it.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Is it very low?
It's let's say it's quite weak, and it's a crackly voice. That's what I'm finding, rather than a smooth. So we'll just carry on. Hopefully, listeners can still listen to us. So before we continue, I just want to tell the listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. And if you are interested in the Grail message, okay, I'm hearing some, let me see, why am I hearing myself? Apologies, listeners. Okay. Hope it's all right. So, like I was saying, listeners, if you are interested in the Grail message, or want to get a copy of it for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is adapting naturally in these challenging times. Adapting naturally in these challenging times. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1.com. You also can listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, space live stream. And you can listen to the recording of this show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1 again, space Grail message, space. The topic of the show tonight is adapting naturally in these challenging times. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno. That is ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1, the 1 again. Gregory, I received a question from a listener, and where it's the question that, or it's even a comment, I would say, we are the only beings who have to pay in order to live. It's a question or a question mark, I guess. So I guess, Gregory, I just want to, I'll repeat this question from the listener. Said, we are the only beings who have to pay in order to live. I guess what he means is we need money to live. Is that true, Gregory?
In the first case, what man is in order to live? Yes, one man way intuitively, which, when interpreted that manner, man has responsibilities. Man has responsibilities in that when he or she makes a decision, then that which he has put into nature, into creation, has to return to him. So at best, it means man has responsibilities. If that responsibility is what is meant by payment, then that will be correct. For whatever a human spirit has sown, that he himself or herself must reap.
Thank you, Gregory, for that answer. I hope, listener, that was you were able to get that answer. Gregory, I've been told by one listener that both me and yourself are not really being heard. So it's not just I can't hear you. There's something else seems to be not working too well with the broadcast. So apologies, listeners, for that. I didn't realize that was the situation, actually. We're going to keep going and hope things can improve. Yeah. I've suggested they should just if that's happening, listeners, just try and reboot your computer or whatever device you're doing so that things hopefully will be okay then. All right. So, Gregory, what about, nature? We talk about nature, the laws of nature. Then we know there are plants and animals. Of course, they're also part of nature. And somehow, they're different from us human beings, obviously, and yet they seem to be able to adapt to nature or to evolution, or just adapt or adjust, like we say, to life. Yes, we know some species die out and new species come, but let's say in general, they seem to be good in adapting to their surroundings and environment. And we know they're not going to university or anything like that. So what is it in them, Gregory, that allows them to succeed where we seem to fail?
Man has free will. That means he or she may choose according to what he or she decides. That is different. The plants will, for that free will which is referred to, is that of one's spirit. The plants do not have spirit. The animals are not of spirit. So they are able automatically in their strivings or in their life to adjust to these laws of nature, these laws of creation. Man, however, has free will, and he or she may decide never ever to adjust to these laws of nature or to adapt his or her activity in accordance with the laws of nature. And therefore, there will be exaggerations. There will be decisions which run counter. Therefore, one can already see the difference with those who, through their free will, adjust themselves in accordance with these laws, those who do not have free will, who automatically adjust themselves, and those who have free will, and many that have free will, who have refused to adjust themselves to these laws of nature because they, in their activities, only consider themselves and not of others.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory, and the picture you painted there. I'm just, I'm thinking things again. I'm so slightly going to a different angle now, but going on what's happening in the world. Okay, let me first talk about this first in general first, Gregory, and then we can ask more questions on it. Basically, Gregory, human beings, we live in a society or in a country, and there's a system, that has been built up, and we have leaders. And I'm wondering, Gregory, we have all different countries with different systems, political systems, let's say, and not you can't really say if any of them are better than the other one. They all seem to have some advantage and some disadvantage. And what I'm thinking, Gregory, is there how can I say, when let's say we have some, I'm going to use the word geniuses, but people who are highly gifted, let's say like that. Is that what really should be, people who are geniuses and highly gifted like this, they are the ones, let's say we should be having, let's say, inventing things and so on like that. But it seems we don't have many of such people. So is there some deficiency within the human beings, Gregory, that we're not having such, I don't want to use the word leaders, but such people like that, which would advance humanity, Is there somewhere we've gone astray where we have not been able to, work with these laws of nature? Because normally it's like I say, some geniuses or such people who seem to find the way forward, to make us move forward.
Only those who, in their activities, strive to cultivate the virtues, only those are the ones that can be relied upon. These virtues or these talents which had been sown into the human spirit, such that they strive to cultivate, such that these virtues, when cultivated fully, will come to maturity. The virtues of steadfastness, of faithfulness, of grace, of modesty, of diligence, of courage and selflessness, of skill, of fulfillment of duty, of wisdom, of humility, of compassion, of vigilance, of alertness. The invention you yourself mentioned, that invention only comes about by those who are steadfast, those who are diligent, those who are modest, those who are skillful. One may not consider so-called a scientist that has drawn up a sort of modeling and has brought something forward. What about those who compose the music? What about those who have always watched nature, and from there they themselves have found medications? They have found medications because they have listened to their intuitions and were able to communicate with the elements of nature or the elementals of nature, and were told to where to go to ensure they find the right medication. All these have to be considered. So if one is searching for those who have been to the big institution and have learned so much about politics, about history, and have not cultivated any virtue, that is a recipe for disaster. For only the person who is diligent can guide one or can guide others to diligence. Only the person who is humble can guide others to humility. The same thing with vigilance. The same thing with alertness. So when real wisdom is discussed, that only comes into play when the virtues are cultivated. What many consider nowadays are the achievements of the sciences. That is true. But where did the intuition spring from to be able to recognize, if not from deep within the intuition? So many need to reflect very carefully and not be one-sided. As long as the human spirit disregard one for all and all for one, then in their activities, there will definitely be exaggerations. One should not expect uniform maturity of the peoples on this earth. So you have different races, but in considering the different races, in their activities, they form a whole. After all, when one considers light, when it is split in the rainbow, there are different colors. You do not expect light which has been split to have only one color. Every person that has ever seen the rainbow knows about this. And that is why it is good to take a cue from that which nature provides to ensure that in their activities they make provision not only for themselves, but also for others in and around them.
Thank you for this answer, Gregory. What I'm seeing there is that, you mentioned it earlier actually, we have our intellectual knowledge, which has a part to play in life, but you cannot work without spiritual knowledge or education, as working together basically. And although the intellectual knowledge, we know we can get it from school and university or elsewhere like that, but the spiritual knowledge, which we have to, let's say, use our intuition, as you said, to tune in, but the real thing is they need to work together, but also, and really that is the, how can I say, that is the path to success, which, let's say, many of us are not considering that in our, development, in whatever development we are having in this life. We are like one-sided in having earthly things we want, but that earthly things, yes, they may give us some reward earthly, materially, but it cannot be left out with the virtues like you've mentioned already. All those aspects must be included in our, you could say, our experiencing and developing. And it's like a necessary part of us as human beings. But we know the education in the school is, let's say, only one aspect. And so you can easily see why we are falling down or failing. What I was wondering, Gregory, when I mentioned earlier about the, let's say, about geniuses and so on, we don't have enough of them, and that's why we're not being successful. But you've given the idea that we all have the potential, maybe not the word genius, but we all have our potential to, develop our talents. And we get that in professions. We have, people who have been through their experiences and then they pass it on to the new students or apprentices, and that happens. But with this regard to, developing our spiritual side, is it just we are left on our own there, Gregory? Just by our intuition? We have to learn it by ourselves?
Intuition is the language which the Spirit uses. The Spirit is the inner core of man. The intuition is an expression of its activity, which expression has an impact on the intellect of man to be expressed either in writing or in you're using the five senses that man has. Therefore, the stronger the link between the human spirit and the human body, or the stronger the link between one's intuition and one's intellect, then the better it is for that which has been sensed by one's intuition to be expressed. Only in such a way can there be progress. What has always happened is that these things are ignored, and many are expecting others, in quotes, who are genius. That has not always happened. For a simple farmer who observes the rumblings, the activities in nature, albeit silently, and knows how to respond to these activities, is more spiritually alert than someone who has cultivated its intellect in such a way that all intuitions are ignored.
Thank you for this picture again, Gregory. It really shows that, we don't, again, like I said before, we don't think about these things, and it's so important for us to be aware of it and, apply it, our intuition. And now, what I'm thinking now, Gregory, let's just go back to what's happening in the news currently. Just to look at an example, in America right now, they're having elections, USA, and there are two big parties there, and the country seems to be very divided. Because we know you always say all for one and one for all, and we've already said that people are different, everybody's different, and they have to use their own intuition. And I'm thinking, Gregory, it's like, and there's also, you can say, social media and press and so on, and people with agendas, let's say, pressing their own goals or aims, and the people seem to follow that. But some things may not be true, and some things may be true. And then people accept those things, and then go pick a direction they think favor. But what happens, Gregory, from that is that, as I say, we're getting division, and the views are so strongly held, whichever side it happens to be, and then there seems to be no way of achieving this, you could say, our dream of all for one and one for all, and which is the only way you can have harmony and success. So would you say, Gregory, that's a broken system? The people are just, because they think that is the way forward for them. This is, one side is right, the other side is wrong. How can they realize that, because maybe, how can we move to let's say, something that, it looks like there's no hope. That's what I'm trying to say, Gregory. There will be constant fight from one to the other, because one time this one will win, the other time the other one will win, but they're actually both wrong in a way.
Politics is such that what they say is not what they mean. And what they mean, most likely, is not what they're saying. In this particular instance, a house that is divided against itself will gradually not stand.
Oh, I thought you were going to say more. Okay, yes. So, yes, I got that. And if it will not stand, Gregory, then it means like it will collapse in the long term. And maybe that's, but somehow, Gregory, we keep doing the same thing, isn't it? People just follow, okay, today this went wrong. Somehow the optimism is always there that the next person or the next, whoever comes next, they will be able to turn the things round. But from what we have been saying earlier, Gregory, I would say that nobody's really using their intuition in anything they're moving forward with. It's just, they just go with what they already know. So what I'm asking in a way, is there any hope in the future with this sort of development? Maybe the majority will fail. That's what I can say from what we are saying so far, and only a few will. I don't know, when I say success, I even don't know what I mean by that. How are we supposed to, Gregory, look at this? You can say, what is happiness meant to be? You know, how it's supposed to be? Is it living in a good place? And you know, I'm trying to picture this actually. So, how would you describe, Gregory, in living in a living in happily and with peace? Is it all when all the world is living together in happiness, or is it just a few people who are, you know, feeling able to achieve that?
The people of a community, of a nation, will always have their free will to make a decision or to make decisions either individually or collectively. That is a fact. The returns based on the decisions they themselves have made intuitively, the decisions they have made in their thoughts, and finally, the physical deeds they have committed themselves to. These, in accordance with the laws of creation, the law of reciprocity, these decisions having set things into motion, we return to them here or hereafter, sooner or later. That in itself is a fact. Also, these decisions which they have made, the kernel of the decisions, the type of species of the decision which has been made, these will be returned to these personalities individually or as a group. That is also a fact. What one cannot deny is, as a human personality has shown, that he or she must reap. When the fruits of these decisions, be it intuitively in their thoughts or physically, when they will return, that is left according to the motion of these three in their specific species. One thing always stands out. If some of these inhabitants of these communities or this country, whatever the country is, if subsequently they come to realize that it has to be one for all and all for one, and they strive to cultivate the virtues, then that effort in the striving to cultivate the virtues will make them lighter. That means they would have sown other seeds that in return will bring them happiness. That is the right happiness that is discussed. That is the right happiness that also brings joy to them, because they themselves will experience it. So, motion, that means continuous sowing, continuous reaping, will always go on. One should not tie oneself to a static scenario. Life is dynamic.
Thank you for that answer there, Gregory. It really puts into place what looks like a, you could say, unfathomable mess. And but we can now see from what you have said, there's the individual and there's the collective, and each one's fate is tied in that way. So we can separate those things, and then, it makes it clearer to see how the laws of nature are working, for each person and as a community as well. So thank you for that. Dear listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's a Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. And if you're interested in knowing more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is adapting naturally in these challenging times. Adapting naturally in these challenging times. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. Also, you can listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space, live stream. That's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space, Grail, message, space. The topic of the show, which tonight is adapting naturally in these challenging times. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno. Go to Zeno, which is ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. Again, the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, we're saying we're living in challenging times. I mentioned in America, the elections there, and then also mentioned about the environment, COP27 conference. And then, Gregory, some people, they're feeling very frustrated. Everybody knows the environment is a big issue, and they they're worried about the future generations, how there'll be a bigger population, more pollution, and the impact of climate will be there. And they want changes now, which everybody, in quotes, they agree to it, but they seem to be going very slowly about it. And some protest groups have come up and they want things to happen quicker. And so there's one particular group, which is in the news again in the moment. It's called Stop the Oil, or Just Stop Oil, sorry. And they're doing some dramatic protests where they just suddenly come to a motorway junction or motorway or anywhere, stopping the traffic in particular junctions, let's say, and causing heavy jams. And let's say and they're doing quite a few different type of, let's say, protests, but it's affecting the public, and the government doesn't seem to be. Their aim is, because they try to, let's say, in the past, protest, let's say, in a normal way against the government, and it seemed they didn't listen, and so they thought, no, let's try something more dramatic, and which is working in the sense of hitting the news, but whether it's having the impact they wanted, it doesn't seem to be. It seems more that the government's trying to find a way to sort of prosecute them and move them that way. So my question there, Gregory, is, we have all variety of people. Let's say, in theory, they agree. Like you said, we're having this COP27 conference. The people coming together have a common goal, but they have different approaches, or let's say different attitudes even to the effort and measures that are required to, succeed in what the common goal is supposed to be. And here in UK, let's say some people are very frustrated about the way the government is moving forward. So my question is, Gregory, is it right to cause big disruption? And, when you're not getting the way you wanted things to be, is it right to do that? And obviously we don't advocate violence, but what peaceful way can we achieve something if the people who are supposed to make decisions are not acting the way let's say, is required to make the changes necessary?
It is helpful to strive to understand the challenges which there are in these matters. And one way of finding solution to the challenges is through vigilance and alertness. That will also require patience and perseverance. Those who then resort to such way of violence only give proof or provide evidence that they themselves have not shown enough patience or enough perseverance, or are unable to find other ways to achieve their aim. Parts of what one may call the virtues is that of vigilance and that of alertness. So one must be prepared to search for non-violent ways that one may engage in. For when violence is the resort that many then go into, they already give proof of their lack of patience. In that case, that which they wish to achieve, or that goal they are pursuing, they, through their activities, they even destroy it. So, in all discussions, in all activities, the human personality must strive to give peace, cause peace within them, peace in accordance with the laws of creation, which keeps on engaging rather than striving to destroy that which they wish to achieve. Of course, Violence in that case is not right. And in most occasions, they will end up not being able to achieve that which they themselves have set out.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. Just to continue on that, Gregory, obviously the government is are the people who are in power, and they're making the decisions, and then the public, if it's a democracy, let's say in UK, they vote the people in, the party in, to be in power. And obviously it's no election is about one issue, it's many issues, and then the people choose whichever party they choose. And obviously some when the government is implementing things, some let's say policies are more priority than others in how they proceed. And I would say this environmental one, some people perceive, it's a long-term issue, so that's not given the same priority as something which is more immediate, let's say about economy, for example, and and obviously these protesters, they have their own one issue that they are very keen on, which is what they're pushing to make, be important, as so. What I want to ask on that, Gregory, is it's almost like, Gregory, when should we just leave it to the leaders to just get on with their decision making and policies, or should the public intervene in ways before that, because let's say they're in power for 5 years, and this is the rule, this is the system that is there, and then we notice, this is not working now, or something is not, what they're not happy with, let's say, with the government. So should, my question is, it's like, Gregory, should people just be given the chance, be patient, the full 5 years? We should just allow it to be that way, and then, just wait for the next time for the opportunity to change something? Or is there a way to intervene before that? Of course, in UK, we've seen some, just in last few weeks, the change is happening, and people changing. So my question, Gregory, is should we be seeing things in the short term changes, or should we let things go for the long term?
Sometimes many do not reflect deep enough. They do wish to have that which is challenging them. They expect quick returns in accordance to their own conceptions. Whereas events, processes in nature take time to mature. You do not plant a seed today and reap it yesterday or in 10 seconds. It is right for the public to be engaged in decision making. What is key here is that a personality must educate themselves to be able to make decisions which will have a long-term impact on the nation or on the world as a whole. Most of the decisions made are only very short term, and they do not search for those qualities which they wish should be at the fore. For those who wish to have that which is good, they should strive first to cultivate those virtues of goodness. Then, in their thoughts, in their activities, the immediate environment about them will be purified such that they are able to see clearly. They are able to see clearly in the matters that count most, such that when they are able to make decisions in what one calls an election, it will be a long-term view that they will consider, rather than only that which fills them on short term, which satisfies their vanity. So, in these matters, choosing those who wish to be at the helm of affairs calls for deep reflections in engaging with all that is challenging to all, not what is challenging to one. For when one thinks or does things in a selfless manner, before long it will affect others. That is, selflessness will have impact on others. And before long, many a challenging or a nagging problem will be sorted out, because there will be a collective thought which will consider that which is long-term, which is of long-term benefit. That is what has not been available. And that is why you have the problems which now abound. In that case, many will strive to ensure they do not put all their eggs in one basket.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. I've got another question about, in life people make mistakes, and, obviously that is learning. And now when you're in a position of power, of course you also make mistakes. And then, let's say, the public, they might get angry and say, no, this person is not competent, he should be removed and resign or be sacked. And but I'm wondering, Gregory, we also say we are supposed to learn from our mistakes. So when you are in position of power and you're making mistakes, of course I'm talking about mistakes with the work that you're doing, not some personal mistakes, what should happen there? Of course there's the lead, the prime minister or president, whoever is in charge overall. They can make a decision, or this person is failing too much, that they need to remove the person, this person. But what I want to ask there, Gregory, is, should people who are in that position, let's say minister or whatever, when they are failing or making a mistake or whatever, should they be allowed to sort of recover, and you could say to sort of recover that mistake, or should they be removed?
It is not a matter of recovering the mistake or being removed that counts. There are many who considers these challenges. Of course, there are many things which might have been done wrongly and some done rightly. For those things which have been done in error, which one refers to as mistakes, What counts is that each personality should strive to ensure they learn from that error, from that mistake, such that in their further strivings, they themselves will not inflict that same error which they themselves have recognized on others. Then that becomes progress for the individual who has recognized this mistake. Also, that which has been right, which has been done right by the individual, one should also learn from it, such that such which is of benefit to all is also, used in one's further maturity. The errors has always been in making decisions. There have been cabals, people who always consider the narrow interest, not the interest of all. However, when these narrow interests was done in favor of one's countrymen, many remain silent. Only now, when this narrow interest has an impact, a non-beneficial impact on them, only then did they wake up. Whereas, had they woken up earlier, maybe that sort of errors would have been avoided.
Thank you for that, Gregory. We've come to the end of the show, listeners. Hope you enjoyed our discussion on the topic of adapting naturally in these challenging times. I'd like to end the show as usual by reading from the Grail message. This is the foreword of the Grail message and is titled, For Your Guidance. The bandage falls and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore, awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you're truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Abdurrahim. And just to remind you listeners, if you wish to get a copy of the Grail message or want to get more information on the Grail message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing all listeners a beautiful week.
Thank you for that. And same for me, listeners. We'll be back next Tuesday, as usual, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time with another topic. Hope you can join us then. All the best. God bless. Good night.